Hey everybody, this is Deb with Truthification Chronicles, and in this video I wanted to give you a quick overview of several different news items. So here we go. The first one is this article by the Daily Caller, and it is, Mark Meadows, GOP will appeal to surveillance court over choice to oversee FBI reforms. Now, you know that the Horowitz report came out on the FISA abuse and was really pretty bad. No matter what you heard on the mainstream media, it actually was bad. And if you watch the hearings with Horowitz, he really did say, I would think these actions were biased. But he said the problem is, I don't have evidence that it was bias. And see, this is the tricky thing about bias. It's really hard to prove that it was. I mean, obviously, if you look at what they did, to any thinking person, you're going to say, wow, they must have been biased to do those things. But Horowitz has to work with actual facts and evidence, because he asked all of them and they all said, no, I wasn't biased and I didn't let my bias, affect anything I did. And unless he found something like a written document or something to contradict that, he couldn't do that. So he couldn't definitively say it. But if you listen to the questioning, he really does believe that there was quite a bit of bias in the FBI during these investigations. And so when we're talking about the report, of course, if you read through the report, yeah, it really does show that there was bias. Rosemary Collyer put out an order, a memorandum on December 19th that said that there needed to be reforms. The FBI had to implement reforms so that this kind of abuse of the FISA process would not happen again. All right. Well, they appointed somebody. And so if you look at this, it says Representative Mark Meadows said Monday that congressional Republicans plan to appeal to the Foreign Intelligence Surveillance Court over its choice to oversee the FBI's surveillance reforms in the wake of a damning Inspector General's report regarding the Bureau's wiretapping of Carter Page. In an interview with, and here's the link to the interview, by the way, interesting, good interview there, with journalist Sarah Carter, Meadows criticized the FISC's pick of former Justice Department official David Kris to assist the court to ensure that the FBI implements the reforms. I can tell you that a few of us are not only appealing this to the judge who has now taken over the FISA process, but we are also looking at this when it comes to renewing the FISA process within Congress, Meadows told Carter. Judge James Boasberg, who presides over the FISC, tapped Kris on Friday to serve as what's known as an amicus curiae, which is like friend of the court. Boasberg said that Kris, who served in the Obama Justice Department, that's a red flag right there, will assist the FISC by monitoring the FBI's surveillance reforms. So does this strike anyone else as like putting the fox in charge of the henhouse? Oh, let's see. I'm sure there's some thing that you can find wrong, by the people that you are buddies with. This is talking about the IG report, finding all the problems there. And then down here, FISC Judge Rosemary Collyer ordered the FBI on December 19th to come up with a plan to address the failures laid out in the IG report. Collyer said that the FBI made false and misleading statements in applications for the Page surveillance warrants. California Republican Representative Devin Nunes and Page immediately criticized the choice of Kris because of his well-known defense of the FBI's activities during the Trump-Russia probe. Nunes, the top Republican on the House Intelligence Committee, told the Daily Caller News Foundation that Kris's appointment was shocking and inexplicable. As a media pundit, Kris downplayed Republicans' concerns that the FBI misled the FISC in order to obtain wiretap warrants on Page. But now we know, okay? We know that's what was going on. And we have the IG report that confirms it. He also suggested in an essay published on March 1st, 2018, that he believed the FBI's characterization of Page as a Russian agent and that Nunes had, quote, falsely accused the FBI of deceiving the FISA court. Yeah, so this is the guy that they put in charge of fixing the FBI mess. I don't think so. So yes, they are appealing it, and we're going to see if it can't be changed, because it's ridiculous that this guy would be in charge. And so I wanted to make sure you understood that that's what was going on. And the Republicans aren't happy about it. But then they shouldn't be, because this is ridiculous. Boy, I just can't understand. Well, this is another one. This is on the website Law Enforcement Today. And this is just to let you know, these articles are written by active and retired law enforcement officers, criminal justice professors, spouses of police officers, attorneys, unsworn law enforcement employees, military service members, law enforcement trainers, criminal justice graduate students, security personnel, etc. Okay, so just to give you a perspective on it, it's kind of like a blog. So you don't necessarily know the credentials of the person, but you do know that they have some kind of connection to law enforcement. And so this one is posted by Pat Droney, and I'm sure you can go here and you can see all of the posts that he has done. But this was on January 11th. Cops call for arrest of Representative Omar after armed Iranian national captured at Mar-a-Lago. Check this out. In Palm Beach, Florida, Friday morning, an Iranian national was arrested about 4 miles from President Trump's Mar-a-Lago presidential retreat. The man, identified as, that name, Zole, on his passport, was armed with several knives, a machete, and a pickaxe. Yeah, charming guy, huh? Zole was arrested at Bradley Park, which is on the east end of the Flagler Memorial Bridge, according to Palm Beach police spokesman Michael Ogrodnik. Police responded to a call at about 9:30 a.m. and found Zole, who had $22,000 on him and had a car parked at the Palm Beach International Airport. And there we have him, being arrested. What might be most troubling about the entire thing is that just days ago, squad member Representative Ilhan Omar called for Iran to go after Trump properties. Now that a real threat has been identified, cops around the country are calling for her to be arrested for inciting potential violence and threatening national security. I think that's really interesting. If you go down here and, of course, Trump ordered the airstrike that took out Soleimani and everything. And you also know that the embassy in Iraq was attacked. And so the situation of everything that led up to it, and that Pompeo has confirmed that there was a series of imminent attacks being planned, and that if they hadn't taken Soleimani out. By the way, Trump did say in the rally that he did tonight that Soleimani was not supposed to be in Iraq. I mean, he was not allowed in Iraq, but he was there. And so, that was just another thing. He was there against, and I don't know who said he couldn't be there, but evidently, according to the U.S., he was not supposed to be in that country, not allowed to be in that country. So anyway, you know the situation that went on, but this was what happened with her. And down here it says the U.S., you remember that Obama released billions of dollars in assets in which belonged to Iran that were held in financial institutions around the world. This is what this author says. This was basically all a bribe so that Iran would terminate its nuclear program, which it has continued in basically a move thumbing their noses at the United States. So the move was widely criticized, especially by Republicans who claimed that it showed weakness on the part of Obama. No real surprise there, which of course, that was what happened. We all know that. We know that we did not think Obama should be doing that in the first place. And so the problem we have with this is the timing. And this is one of her tweets. Trump needs to immediately divest from his businesses and comply with the emoluments clause. Iran could threaten Trump hotels worldwide, and he could provoke war over the loss of revenue from skittish guests. His business interests should not be driving military decision. So in other words, she just told them here, hey, Iran, here's what you do. And that's why they're trying to say she was provoking this. And it could very well be that her comment was what actually made this person do it. So I don't know, but and then it goes on and talks about that situation where she was complaining that, and I think every time I hear conversations around war, I find myself being stricken with PTSD. And then she was just laughing it up and being really rude behind Sheila Jackson Lee. So this was interesting reading through this because I definitely understand this person's point of view. It sounds like if I would write it, this is what I would write. PTSD, is this nut serious? She suffers from PTSD because a known terrorist was taken out and Iran responded by tossing a few missiles at rather harmless targets in Iraq? This is a tremendous disservice to the brave men and women in our armed forces who have seen and done things in their lives that would have her running and hiding under her bed. What a pure, unadulterated insult to our military. During the same conference, after her PTSD had calmed down, Omar was seen laughing and giggling, talking to other Democrat colleagues, while Representative Sheila Jackson Lee was talking about U.S. troops killed in war. And that really was just horribly rude. I mean, all of them that were involved in that. Ridiculous. It's like, hello, do you not know that you're standing on camera right behind the speaker? You don't do garbage like that when you're in that position. So rather than stand silently behind Lee as she spoke and actually showing her some respect, she actually became the center of attention when she began her laughing charade and turned around to speak to the other women Democrats on stage. And so this, the so-called squad have shown that they are un-American and do not have the best interests of our country in mind, only their interest in pandering to the small constituency of brain-dead voters that elected them in the first place. So yeah, I agree with the opinion. And it was an interesting thing to know that they had caught this guy and that they're connecting it, at least some of the law enforcement people are connecting it to her. Very interesting. But I thought I'd share that with you. Again, all the links for these will be down below, so you can read them down there. All right, this one is from the American Thinker, which, again, a lot of these websites will publish various articles by different writers, and it doesn't necessarily mean that the entire website believes that, but they just want to make sure that they get different opinions. And, unlike the mainstream media that all seem to have the same opinion. But I thought this article was particularly interesting because it's about the 17th letter of the alphabet, and it's written by somebody who actually knows what they're talking about. So it really is a very good overview. If you're not familiar with what the whole thing about the 17th letter of the alphabet, you might want to read this because you've probably seen the hit pieces that are out there from the mainstream media, and they are filled with lots of inaccuracies and just downright lies. This is pretty accurate. So there you go. I'm going to leave it down below, the link, so you can read it, see what you have to say about it. Now this one, I'm not going to play this. At first I thought I would, but it's pretty graphic, guys. And so if you're tenderhearted and you don't want to see that, this is, I believe, footage of the plane wreck. So there's bodies and everything. So it is something you're going to want to, I'm not even going to bring it up here, but I'll leave the link down below so you can see it for yourself. But this is, again, just to drive home to you the importance of what's going on in Iran right now, because the mainstream media is not telling us the truth about it. And the Iranians that are on Twitter are trying to get the real truth out there because they're fighting to overthrow this very oppressive regime. And you can see here more than 1,500 killed a month ago for protesting, over 3,000 in prisons. I mean, it's not a very nice place to be. And so pray for the Iranian people. They're in a situation where their leaders are not working in the best interests of the people. And so keep them in your prayers. And anyway, I want to go on. And talking about various things, this was a post that I came across. And I don't link to these posts, sorry, but I just don't think it's wise to do that. But anyway, this is a list of all the countries overthrown by the CIA. Syria, Iran, Guatemala, Tibet, Indonesia, Cuba, Iraq, Dominican Republic, South Vietnam, United States. You know what went on there in 1963. Brazil, Australia, Chile, Greece, Afghanistan, Turkey, Poland, Nicaragua, Iraq, Venezuela, Iraq, and Iran, and Syria, and Ukraine, and Libya. These are all places and dates where the CIA had their hand in these countries. Now, they may not have been totally overthrown by the CIA, but there was a lot of CIA meddling. And then it links to this video and another one. This one, I'll put both links down below for you. Evil World Banking. So I thought that was kind of interesting how that's put together. And it's only a couple minutes long. And then this one is a former CIA station chief who talks about, the CIA's war against people. So I'll put those down below so you can see those. All right. And so that's what I've got for you on this one. I hope there was something that you found interesting. And like I said, you can go through and watch these two videos at the end. I think they're very short, and so they're well worth watching. But that's what I've got for you on this one. I want to thank you for stopping by, and I'll see y'all later.